So my name is Nignon, and I work in collective intelligence. And collective intelligence is shared or group intelligence that emerges from collaboration. And today I wanted to talk to you about a concept that I've been developing called the wisdom stack. The wisdom stack describes the elements that I think you need in order to make an effective innovation ecosystem within a decentralized network. So this concept is based on the idea of a rapid learning network. In a rapid learning network, the metrics for success involve basically quick iterations of the network where each time the network is smarter, making better decisions, and actually beyond smarter, but wiser. And the wisdom stack involves a bunch of elements that I think you need in order to make better, stronger ecosystem that gets better over time. The first is decision making. Basically, how are you going to make decisions in a decentralized environment? This is actually very difficult, and all sorts of decentralized communities are having problems with this. This involves voting, polling the network constituents on their opinions, and making arguments and deciding how these arguments will be presented, in what way, where will they be presented, and how will that work visually. Another important aspect of the wisdom stack is conflict resolution. So an interoperable network brings up the problem of conflict when that conflict happens in between these different entities or applications. So in a knowledge ecosystem, you're going to have to figure out how you're going to handle conflict resolution. So this includes conflicts between companies, but also just normal conflicts between people. And that's one of the things that has been hampering progress in peer technology so far. In the decentralized world, there's all sorts of different things like currencies or DAOs or these kind of complicated assets or organizations, or even just patterns that you can use, kind of these open source patterns that are free for anyone to adopt. But what you need in that case is proper risk assessment. So in the financial world, the risk assessors actually lay the groundwork for much more advanced financial instruments because they allow people to better understand how they're investing their money. In the decentralized world, it could either be investing your money or how you're going to invest your time. So another element of the wisdom stack is crap detection. So you're going to have to figure out, if you have a rapid learning network, you need a way of people to be able to point out negative patterns that are cropping up and be able to deal with those in some kind of conflict resolution. So this could be bad behavior like bullying or harassment, or this could be kind of group psychopathy or normal scams that can develop. Another aspect that you need for the wisdom stack is a good knowledge repository. What this does is make it easier for people to access information about the network, such as what has already been tried, what rules are there in the network, and why do the rules exist, what has been tried and failed, and how has conflict been resolved. Knowledge repository should also include information from meetings, like meeting notes or videos, stuff like that. One of the reasons that a knowledge repository is so important is that someone should just be able to jump into the network and be able to understand what is currently going on, what has gone on in the past, and why decisions have been made thus far. So a knowledge repository can also be like a legal library. So you might have a history of all conflicts that have gone on in the network and how you resolve them. What this does is make it much more predictable what would happen if you tried a certain action. So that actually makes people more willing to try things because it's easy to see how the network will react to certain things when you do them. So a knowledge repository should be able to be viewed in different ways. So if you have a 50-year-old man or a 7-year-old girl, they should be able to tour around the knowledge database in different ways that are contextually relevant for them. Another essential element of a wisdom stack is network weaving. So this is actually very simple, but it's extremely effective. And what this involves is consciously seeding networks so that there are more connections between various groups and making sure that knowledge is flowing from one group to another and that information is being shared all across the network and not just recycling itself in knowledge silos. So network weaving basically makes the entire network more interdisciplinary. So it takes knowledge from different groups, different fields, different across the political spectrum, and makes it travel along the network so that the ideas are continuously being questioned. It increases the critical thinking, and it basically also increases the connective intelligence that needs to happen in order to make a rapid learning network. So the next thing in the wisdom stack is pattern language. And pattern language is a big keyword in collective intelligence because what it allows is for people to follow a basic recipe that's already been proven and build stuff with it that is going to be successful. So what patterns include are the essential elements that you need to build something, and people can take those patterns, use them, and modify them as they wish. So basically they allow for you to use time-tested formulas for success, but also tweak them for your own needs. So the next element that you need to have in the wisdom stack in order to make a real rapid learning network, which is a network that continuously gets wiser, is appropriate metrics. So what you need to be measuring, it depends on what you want to have happen in your network, but you need to think about it. In a rapid learning network, unlike, say, a corporation where the metrics almost always value financial growth above all else, you have to find ways of measuring the intelligence of the network. How you do that is a little bit unclear thus far. And I think it's going to take a lot of experimentation to see which metrics you actually need. But you have to keep in mind that you do have to be measuring for how information is flowing in the network, whether or not everyone in the network is participating in the decision making in some way or the knowledge spreading, and if the decision making process is actually improving. In the wisdom stack, you need effective and very well thought out incentive design. What this means is that people making decisions for the network actually need to have skin in the game, which means that they have enough invested in the network that they want the network to succeed. So they're basically making or trying to make good decisions on behalf of the network. So incentive design is actually based on game theory, and it's really critical in designing a rapid learning network because it's something that needs to be continuously calibrated. When the system increases in complexity, you're going to start having problems with bad actors and people not aligned with the network, people trying to take advantage or freeloaders or whatever. And effective incentive design basically prevents that from happening. And this is not from kind of top-down hierarchy, but from just making sure that the various players are well incentivized to do good. Okay, so another element of the wisdom stack is it's connected to identity, and I'm going to call it here deep profiles. So one of the problems is that these LinkedIn style profiles aren't really that effective in terms of the network being able to properly match up people to the right colleagues or friends or collaborators or projects or ideas. What deep profiling would ideally do is kind of match you with your soulmates, the ideas and projects and people that you really, really resonate with. And that's really hard to do with the simple profiles that don't really explain who you are. So what normal profiles are generally about is what you've done in the past and what you have work experience in. And what I think needs to be an element of deep profiles is something that better expresses who you are and what you're passionate about. Because I believe that if someone wants to do something, if they're placed in the right place in the right project that they are passionate about, they can actually rise up to a level and do things that you would never think that they could do based on their CV. What better profiling will do is to allow the network to basically create better recommendation engines. And this can start, a recommendation doesn't have to start with AI. It can just be people being able to read these deep profiles and intuitively know how to better match people. What is also necessary in the wisdom stack to make a successful rapid learning network is good onboarding. This has generally been very difficult to achieve in decentralized networks, especially in any organizations using blockchain technology. And I think we need to take some knowledge from grassroots organizing and I would actually say religious institutions do have great methodologies for onboarding, maybe making people feel welcome, and importantly, making sure that they go to the right place in the network, that they're properly matched, that they feel they know who to turn to if they have a question, and who they go to get mentorship. So the next item in the wisdom stack is matching, and we've touched on this a bit, and basically it involves building bridges between the right people, projects, information, images, videos, basically tagging information so it's more intuitively contextual for everyone, and making more associative networks so that people can see how things are all related to each other. So these bridges can be positive, like they should be associated with one another positively, or they can be negative, like say maybe they're opposites. Whatever knowledge ecosystem has good matching algorithms will get smarter and smarter. And I think that matching is what makes real sparks fly in a network. So the next item in the wisdom stack is modularity. And modularity is basically essential to scaling open innovation. So the idea of modularity is that you have these kind of building blocks, and you start small by making little building blocks. And these building blocks are based on knowledge. You can just start building them from conversations and from gathering insights together about how you can do something. Kind of condense these insights into simple patterns and have people build larger structures out of these modules. So it's almost like having a Lego as the base. It has these holes on the bottom and little prongs on top, and having that modular structure allows you to put the Legos together on top of each other and build millions of different things using the Lego pieces. A key element in the wisdom stack is interoperability. And what this means is that groups or applications in the network are attached to each other in such ways that data and information can flow between them and across them. So this actually allows for more market forces to occur. As right now, we have these application monopolies like Facebook, which actually prevent you from taking your data and going elsewhere. So people have invested so much time uploading photos and videos and making their profiles, and it's incredibly difficult to just export your data and go someplace else. Modularity or interoperability allow you to do that and allow you to do that easily. So another element of the wisdom stack is breadcrumbs. And they are basically little signs that, or signals that people can leave in certain places to indicate what has been done before or give clues to the next person who comes along. And this allows for much more sophisticated stigmergy to develop. So stigmergy is kind of the collective intelligence of groups like termites who aren't that smart individually, but these little breadcrumbs that they leave each other, these signals, allow them to build very, very sophisticated structures working together collaboratively. So another crucial aspect of the wisdom stack is better network signaling. And this basically means that people can signal states or information that is important for them, and that adds depth to the network and it makes it much clearer what's going on. So one of the ways to do this is to have kind of a basket of currencies. And these currencies are designed for different things. So you could have some token-based currencies, which makes people want to hoard it or store it or invest in it. You can also have high velocity currencies, which incentivize people to trade them and to kind of increase activity across the network. So one thing, for example, that you could do in a network is to have tipping currencies, and this could allow you to transfer currency to people depending on what you want to signal, say kind of tipping them according to who is wise or who is funny or who or who is an expert in what area of decision making. So in the marketplace, the main signal that people use to do exchange is price. And one of the problems is that that is pretty much the main signal that products use to advertise themselves. So that in a market, there tends to be a downward spiral where when price is almost the only signal, you have a race to the bottom where each company tries to produce the cheapest thing. So what more advanced signaling does is to kind of increase that market magic, but in a way that allows people to better express a product's origin, to get it to the right people, or to express more multi-dimensional aspects of something. So another thing to work out is rules, simple, clear rules regarding common resources or public goods. So these rules can be social rules, or they can also be more legal rules, such as licensing agreements for the common resources. And the final element to the wisdom stack is innovation diffusion. And this involves not just coming up with good ideas, but the ability to actually diffuse them or get people to adopt these ideas or software or projects. So the more a network can actually get ideas to spread far inside the network and outside the network, the more successful the network is going to be. So this involves a study of memetics, which is basically trying to figure out which ideas spread like viruses and how you promote the ideas that are most viral, and how you take an idea and adapt it to different groups so that they can understand it with their own associative network or inside their own narrative. So basically, these are the elements that I think are the most important for making a minimum viable upward spiral, a network that may actually be sort of janky at first, but that should, with these elements, continuously improve with agile development and continuous recalibration.